Thank you for giving us the wisdom to even do this, and I thank you for giving each student, whether they're here currently or will watch this later, with the inspiration to become a better steward of all of the resources that you've given them, including the soft resources that are in their lives, their knowledge, their skills, all that they have, their gifts. And we just pray today that you would bless us as we talk about the things that are necessary today to take another step in becoming a good steward. So we honor your presence. Thank you for it now in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, last week we ended up talking about a couple things. The last thing that we didn't get to talk about last week was making an action plan. We talked about goals, right? I think we talked about SMART goals. Did we talk about SMART goals? Or did we? We didn't talk about SMART goals? Okay, all right. We'll get in that today then. Last week, let's make sure, yeah. So today, before we get into what you got new today, go to last week's section, and there's a section after analyze your worksheets. We got through that, right? Yes. And where do you want to go when? Did we do that? No. That's where we are. Okay. All right, good. So we'll get there. Let me introduce what we're going to do today then. Today's session 3, and just an introduction. We're going to talk about the importance of accountability and assistance. That's a very important part of what we do, and when I say what we do, what we need to do in becoming a good steward. You can't really be a good steward by yourself. You can't really get yourself out of the financial situation, even though you may have gotten yourself into it all by yourself. You need some assistance. So it's important to have an accountability partner or a mentor or someone, and typically someone that can also have knowledge to help you in that area. The other part of what we'll talk about today is what I call the boss, which is Mr. Budget. Typically people don't like doing budgets. I'm calling it the boss. I got this inspiration from Pastor Robert Morris out of one of his books, and it is excellent the way he presents it. I'm going to try and present it that way tonight, and then we're going to talk a little bit about, we'll see how far we get with that, because last week I had a long list and we didn't get to it. All right, so where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go, and when do you want to be there? Setting your financial goals. That's what's important today. So on your sheet, you should see something that looks like this. Pray and ask God for clarity of your blank and your blank. Who knows what that is? Not that you had homework to figure it out, but I was just wondering if you might. This is something you need to pray and ask God for clarity on. And it's your vision and your purpose. It is so important that you pray and ask God for clarity on your vision and your purpose. And the second part of that, I'll go ahead and give you the answer to that one. You are not on your own. God is with you. Although, as I just said, you may have gotten yourself into this by yourself, but God is your partner, and we need to realize that and recognize that God is your partner, and He has an invested reason to help you. So He's invested in helping you to get out of this. And that's the word you want there. He's invested. God has invested His Son Jesus in you. And it's not just saving you from your sins, but it's into actually redeeming you from the hand of the enemy. The enemy would have us do a lot of different things that are not necessarily sin, but it ends up hurting us and keeping us away from being all of who God created us to be. And the B part of that is involve Him in every detail of your situation. You want to make sure that you get God involved in every single thing that you do. not just your tithing, not just your giving offerings to the church and to his purposes in the earth, whether it's other nonprofits, but get God involved in all of your decision making, even if it's about buying school clothes. Just invite God to help you. You'd be surprised as to the revelation God will give you to make better deals sometimes than the deals that you get. So pray and ask God to get him involved in every detail of every situation. The second point here is your goal must be your goal. When we talk about setting goals, don't set goals to impress others. That's the answer there. A lot of times we set goals based on the ability to impress others as to what we're doing or what we plan to do. Don't be pressured into goals based on someone else's values or someone else's principles. Your goals need to, I use the word spring here, but they need to come from your heart. They need to come from your soul. It needs to be your goals. Need to spring from your heart and from your passion for creating the drive. That's what goes there. Your passion for creating the drive and perseverance. See, you're going to need something that will get you past the adversity that you're going to come up against. You're going to need to overcome some obstacles, and they're not just like an obstacle course, but it's adversity. Things are going to happen. Just when you think you're making some progress, something's going to happen that cause you to think that, wow, this isn't working. And so you need goals that will give you the inspiration that comes from your heart that will actually help you get past those things that will keep you back, past any kind of discouragement, past any kind of setbacks. That's the next thing there goes in your blank. But overcome your adversity and also discouragement and setbacks. God wants you to make it, not just set goals, but set goals that you can actually make it through. So there's your answers. Make sure you got those answers on your sheets. You want goals that are your goals. Don't set goals to impress others, and they should spring from your heart and your passion. So that's what you're going to need to overcome adversity. Now, the third thing is in setting SMART goals. When we say setting SMART goals, this is a very popular goal setting strategy. When it says SMART goals, each letter of the word SMART stands for something. It's an acronym for a word that you need. All these components, you need each one of these components when you set goals. Number one, there is set SMART goals. The SMART goal your goal must be specific. That's what goes there. Your goal must be specific. M is that your goal must be measurable. There should be some metric that you're using that you can use to know if you're making progress or not. So your goal needs to be measurable. The third thing is your goal, the A in SMART is your goal needs to be achievable. It needs to be something that you can do. You shouldn't set a goal so far out that there's no way you can see that you can do it unless you get a miracle. We don't set goals based on miracles. We set goals based on where we are now. You may have to stretch a little bit. You should set stretching goals, but not miraculous goals where, I'm going to pay off all my debt next month, and you're looking for a miracle or winning the lottery, but you can't depend on either one of those. We don't live by miracles. We live by faith in doing the things that God require us to do. The R is your goal must be relevant. And we'll go through each one of these so that you can get a good understanding of what each one of these components actually are or is. And then the last one is time bound. T is time bound. So I'll give you these so that you can see them. But it must be measurable. Well, specific first, then measurable. It should be achievable. In other words, you should be able to carry this goal out with your current situation, your current resources. So set your goals based on your current resources. not on what you're expecting, not what you hope comes to pass, but current resources. And it needs to be relevant. It needs to be connected to something meaningful. It needs to be connected to something significant to you, something that means something to you. And that's how important that is for you. So, in setting SMART goals, to know that you are making progress, you need to set some metrics that indicate where you are. And so when we talk about specific, here's some examples of each one of these goals. Specific, I will reduce my credit card debt down to 0. So it's not just saying I'm going to reduce my credit card debt, because you could reduce it some and still not be completely out of debt. So make it specific. I'll reduce my credit card debt down to 0. It needs to be measurable. Another example here is I will make monthly payments using the Snowball Approach. And I mentioned the Snowball Approach, and last week someone asked me about the Avalanche Approach. And there are two different approaches. So just so that you understand, the Snowball Approach for getting out of debt is where you start with the smallest payment, the smallest balance that you have. And each one of these actually have pros and cons. I like the Snowball Approach, unless and I can do both of these for you so you know which one is actually best, depending on the kind of debt that you've got. But the Snowball Approach is you knock out the smallest balances first. And if it's a small balance, you knock that off, then that monthly amount you get to add to the next one. And that could be quicker than if you were using the Avalanche Approach. The Avalanche Approach is where you start with the highest interest rate. So if you take a look at your sheet that you did from the homework from the first week, we ask you to list all your debts, and there's a column for interest rates there. If we were going to use the Avalanche Approach, the first one that you will work on would be whichever one has the highest interest rate, regardless of the balance. And the goal there is you're saving money by knocking out this debt that's costing you so much. It's costing you more than any other debt. So depending on how all of your debts fit together, either one of those may be the best for you. In most cases that I look at, the Snowball Approach is it's the simplest one. You don't have to figure out what interest rate comes next. You just pick the one got the smallest balance and go for it. But if you would like, we can take a look at each one of those for you specifically. When I say we, if you want me to take a look at that for you, or I can show you how to figure that out for yourself. But it needs to be measurable. So in this case, the example is talk about what approach you're going to use, know what approach, and then saying that you'll make monthly payments using that approach. And that way you can know that you're going to get out of it. And then the A is achievable. Achievable. An example here is I can set aside X amount of dollars, and each one of your answers to that is going to be a different answer. But I can set aside X amount of dollars to put towards the proper outstanding credit card debt each month. And I will use my structured budget. We're going to talk about the budget today. So you're going to use a structured budget to understand better what I can afford to budget for credit card payments. And you really won't know how much until you actually do a budget as to how much you have left over. So that's why doing the budget is so important. It's an important key. It's a key component to getting completely out of debt and staying out of debt. And not just staying out of debt, but making smart decisions. And then the R in SMART goals is relevant. Here's something that you can say, and what's relevant to you may be different, but here's an example. When I've paid off all my debts, I will have freedom. No more payments. No more answering to collectors. No more watching my paycheck disappear. I can then save more, I can give more, and I can have a better quality of life without the pressure of debt. That's relevant. That's relevant to me, but if whatever is relevant to you, why is this goal meaningful? What makes it meaningful? One of the things that makes it meaningful for me is I really do want to establish a legacy for my family, for my children, for my children's children. I really do want my children's children not to have the same issues that I had financially. whether I'm still alive or not. I want to set it up so that they can make better decisions. They'll have money to start off with, and they can keep that money growing. So make it relevant to you. And then the last one is the T in SMART. That's time bound. Based on my debt snowball calculator, or if you're using the Avalanche calculator, we'll figure that out. If I can keep up a monthly payment of X amount of dollars, and you'll know what that is after you do your budget, I can realistically expect to be out of credit card debt or consumer debt. Some of your consumer debt may not necessarily be tied to a credit card. It could be for example, you used to didn't have a JCPenney credit card. You just had a JCPenney account. But it was still consumer debt. There were still stores like that where you just had an account, but not a credit card. Now everybody wants to give you some plastic. So you feel it, feels good. I can use this. I got a good balance. I can go get something. My plastic here. So you'll end up with a date that your calculator will tell you what date when we're done with this. Will tell you what date based on your calculations and what monthly amount you're putting in there. It'll tell you when you will be out of debt. And if it's 3 years, that's 36 months, however long it takes. But you'll end up writing that number down so that you have a goal to set for, to shoot for. You will know that this is my target. This is my debt-free date. For example, I think that's on your sheet there. My debt-free date is, you will know when that is. And that'll be so exciting when you do that. So the fourth thing is to write down the things that you'll end up doing, is write down your goal. Write down, and that's your vision. Set your desire, and write it down. Don't just think about it, but write it down in a way that you can go back and understand what it is. Write your vision. So you'll end up, all of these different assignments that you're getting, even if you got it, for example, the one that you got 2 weeks ago, the first week, you haven't necessarily put that into use yet because it really goes with some of the other stuff. You can't really use it yet, but you need to have it done when the time comes. And I think next week we're going to get into some of the applications of using some of the data that you've actually put together. But look at this. This is so important right here. There is supernatural power in the act of writing down your goal. Did you realize that? There is supernatural power. Something happens when you write down your goal. I've done this before where I've written down a goal. I knew it was my goal. I wrote it down, and I actually forgot about it, but I wrote it down. And then years later, as a matter of fact, the example is the home that we now live in. I had a goal of wanting 10 acres. I wrote that down years and years ago. I wrote that goal down. And then one day we were having a family meeting over my brother-in-law's house, Pastor Brown's house. We used to do monthly prayer with the whole family. And we were talking about those goals. And at that point, I had purchased the land. I was like, wow, and forgotten all about it. But when you write it down, what actually helps you is when you look at it after you've written it down. So once you've written down those goals, you need to use the power of knowing what it is and expecting it to come to pass in your life. And so that's why it's important. It's supernatural when you do that. Then once you and your spouse, if you're married, have determined your financial goals, write them down. And not just write them down, but here, this is good right here. Make copies of it. However you need to do that. Make copies, digital copies, hard copies, copies that you can just pull up on your phone. Place them where you often pass through places, where you often hang out, your phone screen, your watch screen, your refrigerator, your bathroom, in your wallet, whatever you're normally looking at a lot, then set some goals and put some goals on there so even your saved screensaver pops up with your goal on it, just to remind you all the time. And the second thing there is keep your eye on the prize. Your prize is the peace and freedom that you're going to get. that you'll feel, that freedom of being out of debt, that freedom of not having to answer to someone because you have a debt. If you have a paycheck, having some money that you can decide what to do with instead of what the decision already being made because you owe someone that. So peace and freedom you'll feel when you execute good stewardship habits. And then once you have those goals written down, then you make an action plan. So say that with me, make an action plan. Right. So an action plan is something that you put into place you're going to generate a plan of action for accomplishing whatever the written goals are. Basically what it's saying is you plan your work and you work your plan. You've written some things down. Now what do I have to do to activate that? I give a good example of this almost every Sunday when I do the challenge. I give you a challenge, then I give you some action steps to take that week to actually carry that out. And so make yourself an action plan. What do I need to do to make this happen? What would be my first step? And that's what you need to do is make yourself an action plan. Then once you know where you're going and where you want to be, when you want to get there, and then how great that distance is from where you are now to where you want to be, when you know that, then it is a critical, practical, workable strategy that you're coming up with for making step-by-step progress in that direction. Just as I was saying, you're going to do whatever it takes to take a step-by-step progress. And you are writing this out, but we're going to help you with this. Wherever you need help with this, let us know, let me know, and we can help you out with that. But do the work. It's so easy to hear all this and do not do the work, but do the work. And then now, if you'll go to the sheet that you got today, the importance of accountability and assistance. This all goes with your writing down a budget and all of the other homework that you've done so far. And this is the importance of accountability and assistance. After getting your written goals down, and you've also come up with an action plan, then you need to add a person, someone outside of your household that will help you be accountable to your goals. So you're not asking someone else to come in and tell you what to do. You're saying to that person, here are my financial goals. I've written this down, and based on this and what I'm planning to do, I should be completely out of debt on this date. I'm asking you because I trust you. I'm asking you because I think you also have some knowledge in this area. I'm asking you to be my accountability partner to make sure I am on course, for the goals that I've set for myself. And that's why that's so important, is that these are your goals. Remember, whose goals are these? Yours, right? So you're just asking somebody else to help you be accountable. Which means you're going to let them know what you committed yourself to doing and what your plan of action is. So you're at least letting them know this. Now, here's some things about this person. This person could be a blank. You choose to hold you blank to the goals that you have set. This person could be a mentor that you choose. It doesn't have to be a mentor, but it could be a mentor that you choose to hold you accountable to the goals that you have set. It's goals that you have set. I had one mentor, mentee, I guess I would call the person in this area, who had me as their financial coach, had another pastor as their spiritual coach, and he actually shared with me all the different people that he picked that he wanted to be the coach for his life in different areas, a relationship coach. It would be good to have some kind of mentor, some kind of coach in each area, even if a person that you know may be good for more than one area. But it's good to have someone that's knowledgeable in the area that you're trying to grow in, and whether it's a mentor or just an accountability partner, but to keep you on track. Because remember, just like we said, there's supernatural power in writing things down. there's also power when you have an accountability partner. How many of you ever said, oh, I'm going to the gym starting tomorrow? And if you're going by yourself, when tomorrow comes, it depends on how you feel. But if you call somebody else and say, I said I'm going to the gym tomorrow, do you want to go with me? Can you go with me? And that person say, yeah, I'll go with you. Now you got somebody else that you're accountable to, and you're more likely to go, because if you don't feel like going, if the other person said they're ready, and then you don't feel like going, then you don't want to let them down. It's amazing, all those different feelings that come to help you. So there's some power in that. But you should invite and blank this person to check in with you regularly to blank your progress. What do you think that is? You should invite this person and encourage. It's a good word. I'll help you out. There's no way you would know what I'm thinking. Right? You should invite and empower this person to check in with you regularly to monitor your progress. Empower meaning that you are letting them know that you're giving them this power. Typically, anybody that you talk to don't have power to hold you to a goal. But you're saying, I have these goals, and I want you to help me to stick to it. I am empowering you. I'm giving you the power to ask me. That's really what you're saying. I'm giving you the power to ask me in a couple of weeks. Are you on track? You know, that's kind of the thing. I'm giving you the power to ask me in a month or two. How's it going? And you're giving that person the power to ask you that question so that they can help you to monitor what you're doing. And then there is, this is a word you definitely wouldn't have guessed, because I thought of this word from the scripture where it talks about the fervent, effectual prayer of the righteous. There is effectual self-discipline. That's the word that goes there. Who had it? Anybody have that? There is effectual self-discipline power in just knowing that someone else is monitoring your efforts. And we kind of just shared what that's all about. It's effective. It's powerful. It makes a difference. It works when someone else is helping you to monitor your efforts. And whoever this person is or team of people, your accountable team should be someone that you trust. Got that one right? Someone that you trust, someone who's mature, and someone who can offer you, that's a good word, advice. Advice as well as encouragement. But a person that's good in all those areas is a good person to be your accountability partner in that area. It's sad, but many people, especially believers, people in church, because they think that everybody thinks that they're perfect and they want to put on a face that they're perfect. And many times our financial area of our lives is one of the worst part of our lives, and so we just keep it hidden. So we struggle financially, never asking for help, because I know you probably want to use the word embarrassing, but I use the word humiliating there. But even if you put embarrassing, it still works the same, because it's humiliating, and we're ashamed of our financial condition. But I'm asking you, and I'm asking you to demand of yourself, don't allow shame and the lack of you being transparent with others to keep you from getting the help that you need. It is so easy to step back because of shame. It is so easy to step back because we feel embarrassed in areas that we just hide it. And it's really sad that I think this is stronger in the church even than outside of the church, because we try to put on this face that we're perfect. And especially if we're in a leadership position. Here we are a leader, and our finances is all jacked up. And we want everybody to know and think that we're doing great. And we keep getting deeper and deeper in because of what we want people to think and how we want them to see that we're doing. But So where am I? Here. Many believe. So just as you need a medical doctor when you are sick, you need to talk to someone. Huh? Important, capable, all those sound good. You're in the ballpark. Knowledgeable. You need to talk to someone knowledgeable and trustworthy who can help you get to the root cause of the issue. And because there is a root cause, and you need to figure out what that is and dig that root out and kill it so that you can actually become healthy. But just like you need a doctor, sometimes when you're sick, and many times we do act like we know what to do when we're sick, and we start telling the doctor what to do, and the doctor is the doctor, and we're the one who's sick, and we're trying to prescribe for ourselves what we need. But it's important to also talk to someone who's knowledgeable. Here's another one. Don't let... It's a P word. Pride. Don't let pride or fear keep you from moving forward in your planned future. Or the future of your financial... And what did we say this class is a financial what? Wholeness. Wholeness. So don't let pride or fear keep you from moving forward in your planned future of financial wholeness. We want to be financially whole. Your personal peace depends on it. To have peace of mind, your personal peace depends on it. You know what else depends on it? Your health depends on it. If you're married, your marriage depends on it. If you have children, your children's futures depend on you taking this step. It is so important that you take these steps. And I wanted to spend the time today to go through that, and I'll take any questions on any of those things. And then I want to talk to you about, did you also get a sheet, a worksheet? Okay. Can I get one up here because I don't have it to share on the screen? Somehow I don't have that up here with me. Yeah, I just want to go over this with you. I mentioned this sheet last week, and I don't have it to put on the screen for you, but I mentioned it last week when I talked to you about it. I asked you the question, how many of you use Excel? Remember I asked you that question? But if you go to that sheet in your workbook today, you got this today, and those of you who are watching this online or who will be watching this video later, this sheet is also included when you watch the video. There'll be a link for the PDFs that you can print out. But if you notice, there are a number of columns across, and I'm going to go over this with you. In the first column there, it says expense. That column is where you're going to put down whatever the expense is, whether it's, clothes or, yeah. I did want to, I guess I still can't do that. Okay. But the expense, there's an expense type, which is the next, I'm sorry? No, that's actually what's in the expense column. The expense type is whether it is, I need my, go to this screen for me. I'm going to come and get what I need. If you go to that screen, I'm going to come and get what I need. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. How did I end up without that? Where is it? It is right here. I still don't know if I can put it up there. Where is it? Hang in there, you guys online, or who are watching this later. It's in class 2 because it was from last week. I just printed it today, but I did it last week. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Come, I don't see it. Maybe it's in class 1. No, there it is. Oh, didn't come up yet. Come on. There it is. There's a third one, so it's not on here. So it's on there. So that's what I'm looking for right there. Yep. And I think that's those are anyway. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad y'all are looking at this cash flow, how to get out of the rat race. We're going to play this one day. Hopefully y'all want to play this one day. Maybe nobody wants to play this but me. I know a few people who like it. My grandson Devin loves this game. He's about to have his first baby, so when we celebrate, we're going to play this. Okay, but go back to your sheet. The first column is expenses, where you have whatever the expense is. And this is not necessarily a debt, but an expense, like groceries, clothes, gas, whatever your expenses are. This is the beginning of your budget, and where you're spending money. And I'm going to give you a way next week to help capture what your expenses are, because many of us don't know what we spend in different areas. So what you need to do is start keeping a receipt for everything you do. Write down everything. And this is not to necessarily change your habits yet, but you need to know what your habits are. You don't even know yet. So you want to keep every receipt, write everything down. Remember last week we talked about being accountable for every penny, every single penny, whether it's Cash App, whatever. This helps you to know what these expenses are. But in the second column where it says expense type, in the spreadsheet, when you click on that, what will pop down, there's only two answers to this. It's either a mandatory expense, something that has to be paid, like your mortgage, or it's discretionary expense, where the amount could be, mandatory is the same every month, basically. Well, I can think of another one that's mandatory but not necessarily the same, like utilities. It's not necessarily the same, but it's mandatory. But a mandatory is something that you got to pay in order to keep things moving the way they should be. So it's mandatory or discretionary, and you'll categorize each one of your expenses in that one of those categories. The next column is amount type, and the amount type is another two answers. It could be a fixed amount, or it could be a variable amount. Fixed amount is typically the same every month, like your mortgage, your car payment, those things. But variable amounts is like your utilities. It could change. I don't know if your phone bill is the same. Probably depends on how, if you go over or not, right? So, but you'll look at each one of those types because it'll make a difference. And then the next column is monthly amount. That's where you put the monthly amount that you're paying each month. And the next one is quarterly amount, meaning that if you have bills that you pay quarterly, you put the quarterly amount there. When you do the spreadsheet, if it's a quarterly amount, then the monthly amount will automatically pop up in the monthly of what you need to set aside for that. Same thing with semi-annual, same thing with annual. And then next to the last column over to the right is your due date. Whatever the due dates are for each one of those bills. And then on the right, unexpected amount. Those are expenses those are unexpected expenses. Who can think of some unexpected expenses? Car repairs. That's a good one. You didn't expect it. You didn't plan on the car needing to be repaired. What are some other unexpected expenses? How about when your kid comes home and said, I need this for school? You didn't expect that. I need this uniform. I need these. I need that. Unexpected. So you need to learn how to budget for those unexpected things. And one of the things that will help you to do that is your emergency fund, as you start to build your emergency fund. And so, but next week we'll go through this. So if you want to start writing down some of your expenses where you know this, I'm going to give you this electronic version of this. If you have laptops, bring them with you in next week, and then you can see for yourself, because I'm not going to go over any person's individual information in class, but you can do your own personal information in class as we go through this. So bring your laptops. Feel free to do that, and we'll go through this. And I'll have some stuff on the screen next week that will show you how we would demonstrate this and how you can start moving through this. Okay? Question? Okay, the question was asked, what's the difference in the expenses we put on this sheet that you just got today and one of the sheets that you got the very first week, I believe it was, that your debt elimination sheet. On your debt elimination sheet, you're only writing down your balances, and you're also writing down the interest rates and all those things, so that you're going to put this in a Snowball calculator, or you're going to put it in an Avalanche calculator, so that you'll know when you're debt. This is that sheet is helping you get rid of debt. Expenses, some of the expenses you have will also be expenses from your debt, but when the debts are paid off, those expenses will be gone. But there are some expenses that you're always going to have. You're always going to have, even if you paid off your mortgage. An expense you're going to have is the taxes. Another expense you're going to have is the insurance. And so expenses is stuff that continues to go on and on and on. You don't have a balance for it, but it's the expense of living, like eating. You know, if you didn't have to buy groceries, if you didn't have to eat, you wouldn't have to buy groceries, right? But we got to eat. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, if on that first sheet, right, on that first sheet, if you, for example, a lot of people pay their taxes and insurance with their mortgage payment. It goes right along. If you actually looked at your mortgage sheet, and that's one of the things you'll need to do to figure out what your real principal and interest is look at your annual statement for your mortgage. You'll see there's a principal amount, you'll see there's an interest amount, and then you'll see something called escrow. And your escrow is the combination of the taxes and the insurance. Typically, your taxes, if you're in Michigan, they make payments to the state or to your, whatever area that you live in. They make those payments twice a year. One is called summer tax and one is called winter tax. And it's a lump sum, but you're paying a certain amount every month that they're taking out. And then then they make the payments for you. Same thing with your taxes. Your taxes is typically due once a year, but they collect them. And your escrow could change if your taxes go up, or if your homeowner's insurance go up, your escrow could change. And therefore your payment changes. But neither of those affected your principal or interest. The principal and interest payment part of that is the same. And even though it's changing every month too. Every month you're paying a little less interest and a little more principal. A little less interest and a little more principal, but the amount that you're paying for those two things together stay the same unless you refinance. And so, but we'll help you get through all of that so that you can dissect those different things, so that when you're ready, that's one reason why you want your mortgage to be last. Another reason that your mortgage is the last thing to pay off is because it's typically one of the lowest interest rate payments that you have. And as I mentioned before, it's typically an asset and not necessarily a liability. There's value in your house. And depending on, when I was we used to be so specific in helping people save money that we would have people, and it's probably still a good thing to do, instead of having the mortgage company pay your payments for you for your taxes and insurance, because that means they're holding that money in their account all year long until the payment is due, when if you were disciplined enough, you could have that money in your account earning a little interest on it until the money is due. But most people are not disciplined enough, and therefore we say just let the mortgage take. You end up losing the house because you didn't pay the taxes. All right, but those are just some of the things that we think about when we do that. But
did you say there's a snowball calculator online?
Yes. Yes. And one of the reasons I didn't introduce it the week that I was going to is because you needed some of this material in order to actually use it. But another reason is the one that I thought I have one, but you pay monthly for it. And I'm trying to find something that you don't have to pay monthly for. It's not a lot. It's just like putting an app on your phone that you got to pay for. But if it means that much to you, if it's not that much, but I'll give you the option, and we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, there's an option for it. And if you know how to use a spreadsheet, you can figure it out in the spreadsheet and not necessarily need the app. But we'll go over that next week.
What's that book name? Robert Moore's book you mentioned? Not Blessed Life? That's it?
Pastor Robert Morris's book, I think it's The Blessed Life. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. Well, have a good week, and thank you for attending. And if you have any questions on any of the homework as you go through it, please email me or text me so I'll know that you're emailing me, and then I can help you out if you so choose. All right? Love you. God bless you.